Alright, so you probably started diving into the options world and things are confusing. You're looking at options chains. You're looking at, oh my god, deltas, thetas. You're seeing all the flashing numbers and everything looks beautiful, but at the end of the day, you're clueless. If you find yourself in this type of situation, a really great place to start is knowing how an options price is even constructed in the first place. Because let's be realistic, if you don't know this, you might as well just be trading options with a blindfold and just clicking random buttons at once. Now don't get me wrong, I never knew what this was when I first started options trading, and because of that, I had to face some pretty crazy losses. Hey, that's my tuition to the market, and by you watching this video, you're gonna make sure that you're not paying that portion of the tuition to the market. And by tuition of the market, I just mean you're going to see huge swings, whether that be on the upside or the downside. And obviously when it's on the upside, you're gonna think that you're the next Warren Buffett, but when it hits the downside, you're gonna be completely depressed and probably even discouraged from trading options again. So we'll basically go through the entire anatomy of an options price, how it's structured, and then at the end of the video, I'll actually share one of my experiences and how I got burned pretty badly for not understanding this. So without further ado, Z community, let's get on with it. The anatomy of an options price. Welcome to Bio 210, where we are going to dissect the anatomy of a contract. Not just any contract, an options contract. When you look at the exquisite structure of an options contract and you take a telescope.
What did he say?
Oh, sorry, not a telescope, a microscope. When you look at the exquisite structure of an options contract, you look at it under a microscope and you see two things. The first thing being extrinsic value and the second thing being intrinsic value. Intrinsic value is pretty darn simple because it's either $0 or it's the difference between the strike price and the stock price. The intrinsic value will only be $0 if and only if the option contract is out of the money. If you don't understand what this means, I'll put it simply, but you can refer to other videos if you want more detail. If it is a call option, out of the money just means that the strike price is higher than the current stock price. And conversely, for put options, out of the money is when the current stock price is actually higher than the strike price. If it doesn't meet this criteria, then all you have to do is subtract strike price and stock price, and you will then get your intrinsic value. Now, extrinsic value, this is where things get a little more complex because you can't really calculate it, but there are ways to kind of cope around this so that you get an understanding or at least somewhat of an idea of what this extrinsic value looks like. Or most of the time you could just take simple maths, take whatever the options price is, subtract the intrinsic value, and then you find out what the extrinsic value is. But of course, we all love to make things more complicated than it is. So let's actually look at what extrinsic value is made out of. Time value and volatility. Time value is pretty straightforward because this is basically just showing you the amount of time that's left before a certain options contract expires. What does this mean in simple terms? The longer that your contract has until expiration, the higher that time value is going to be. Conversely, the less time that there is until an options contract expiration, the lower that this time value is going to be. Volatility, on the other hand, and this is where you're probably going to see most of the extrinsic value coming in, if you're looking at shorter term options, obviously, is uncertainty and risk. And I'm going to use both of these terms interchangeably, meaning that they'll mean the same thing, but on a more detailed level they're not. But just pretend they are for this video, okay? Now, the more risk or the more uncertainty that there is within a current stock, the more volatile it's going to be. Because at the end of the day, people don't know whether it's going to go all the way up, all the way down, stay within the same range. So there's a lot of uncertainty. And because of that, an options contract is going to be valued at a much higher price than it would usually be. And this is one of the biggest factors to extrinsic value and how it makes up the options contract. But just because one of these may affect an options price more than the other, both of them still affect the pricing no matter what the situation is. So you have to pay attention to both of these different types of things. So let's just say, for example, that a huge news report comes out for the company, either good, either bad, or it's about to just release its earnings soon. When these types of things happen, there's a lot of price movement, and because of this price movement, it usually happens because there's a lot of uncertainty. People don't know whether to react in a good way, whether to react in a bad way. And this actually affects your extrinsic value because of the volatility aspect. Now, let's just say the earnings report came out. This company did amazing, beat analyst expectations. They just, blew it off the court. Good job to that company. Because of that, there might be a huge spike within the stock price, and people might be like, wait, is it going to keep going, or is it going to go back to where it was? Like, whoa, what's going to happen? And because of this is where extrinsic value comes in. You're going to see the option value, or the option price. That's also going to increase with that volatility. Same thing applies even if it's bad news. Because the volatility is increasing, you're also going to see the options price increase. With the second portion of extrinsic value being the time value, this is just as simple as just time in itself. For example, if you were to look at two different option contracts that have the exact same strike price. So if you see $10 strike price for one stock and $10 strike price for the exact same stock, but the expiration is not until a year from now, you're going to see that the contract that doesn't expire until a year from now is actually much higher than that other contract you were looking at. This is because there's a lot more time left within the contract, meaning that anything can happen. Plus, on top of that, it's basically for the amount of time that is left, because at the end of the day, whether you're on the buying side or you're on the selling side, you're basically putting yourself under control of 100 shares or increments of 100 shares. And because you're basically, chaining yourself up to 100 shares of stock at a time, you're basically getting rewarded for the amount of time you're holding on to this. And you're probably wondering at this point, you're like, hey, Azizz Finance, man, I've done a lot of research so far, and I've seen a lot of people talk about options Greeks, Theta, Gamma, Rho, Vega, these guys. And I'm gonna tell you something right now. Think about option Greeks as the nerves on your body, the things that actually make your body move, one of those. Okay, silliness aside, think of the options Greeks as the nerves on your body and the things that actually make your fingers, your muscles, everything move. But you have to look at extrinsic value and intrinsic value as your actual body itself. If you don't have a body, you don't have nerves to move it. And that's where it kind of comes down to extrinsic value and intrinsic value. It serves as the foundation as to how this option price even came to light in the first place. The option Greeks, on the other hand, these are things that will influence how much an options price will move over a certain period of time. I've talked about option Greeks on the channel, so be sure to check out our past videos if you want to learn more about this. Please make sure that you nail down extrinsic and intrinsic value first. Now let's actually talk about how not knowing about extrinsic value and intrinsic value has backfired for me big time. Now, I'm mainly a covered call writer, and if you don't know what this is, there's another past video of it. I'm not going to go into it too deeply, but this is essentially when you sell a call option. When you sell a call option, your intention here is for the option price to go down as fast as possible and within the shortest time possible. But me not knowing a thing about intrinsic or extrinsic value, I'm like, yo, let's get it. Let's make sure that this thing decreases. Yeah. I check my portfolio a week later. Why did this thing go up in value by 10 times? And dude, this wasn't one time. It wasn't 2 times. This happened to me on multiple occasions. I'm like, what am I doing wrong here? I don't understand. And after I did more research, I then determined, okay, this is what I'm doing wrong. It's because I don't understand intrinsic value and extrinsic value. I didn't understand at the time that because of earnings, news reports, and other things of this nature, it actually increased the extrinsic value of the option. It did this by a lot of uncertainty that was within the stock at a time. And because of this, the option price ended up increasing by a huge amount. And this ended up messing me up because number one, not only did I have to forcibly sell my shares at a much lower price than what they were trading at, still made profit due to no stress, but I put myself at a limit in terms of gains. Obviously, I had to know this because I was doing covered calls. I didn't mind, but still, it's just a feeling that kind of sucks, especially if you want to roll it over. It's just a huge loss. But yeah, that was my experience. Now you guys have a good understanding of what extrinsic and intrinsic value are, how they make up an options price, and now you should hopefully have a couple of questions that you can leave me in the comments down below. Z Community Cuties, it's your boy Azizz Finance in the cut. Don't forget to like, comment as always, share this video if you found value in it, and I'll I'll see you guys in the next segment. It's your boy Azizz Finance signing out. Peace.